Today we're solving quadratic equations by completing the square. So remember, what you're doing when you're actually solving quadratic equations is you're finding the points where the graph crosses the x-axis. So this is what you're finding. So usually there's two. Sometimes there's one, and sometimes there's none. But in Algebra 1, where we don't do solutions where there's none. That's in Algebra 2. All right, so first thing I want to do is make a list of perfect squares, because this is completing the square. Square as in a number times itself. So we're going to make a list of 1 through 15. Okay, then we're going to square these. One squared is 1, 2 squared is 4. Go down the list and find all the perfect squares. Okay, so we are trying to complete the square. So if I have x plus 3, parentheses, squared, I would use the box method to square that. So x squared is, x times x is x squared, 3x, and 9. So this is a perfect example. This is a square. You have a number, or you have a factor times itself. So the perfect square trinomial would be x squared plus 6x plus 9. So this is a perfect square trinomial, meaning it was created by a factor times itself, or a factor squared. So we are going to create perfect square trinomials. That's why it's called completing the square. Right now, the constant term, it needs to be a perfect square. For example, 9 is a perfect square. 9 is a part of my perfect squares. Okay? So if you look at this constant, negative 38 is not a perfect square. So I'm going to get rid of that constant. I'm going to move it over. I'm going to leave a blank. When I move it over, I'm going to add 38. So it's going to be a positive 38. So here, I'm going to replace what 38 was with a perfect square. And it can't be just any perfect square. It has to be the one that would work with 14p. Okay, so look at this number. Look at 6. How did we get 6? So we took this number and we added. So 3 plus 3 is 6. So to get this one, to get this number, we take this number and we do the opposite of multiplying it by 2. We're going to divide it by 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So I know that 7 is going to be what I multiply by. So it's going to be 7 and 7 here. So what's the perfect square for 7? 7 squared is 49. So 49 goes here. So I added 49 to the left side. It came out of nowhere. I added it. So if I add 49 here, the only way I can do that is to add it to this side. So I'm going to have on the right side 87. So I'm going to convert this back into factored form. Okay, so what did I use to get 14 and 49? What's the perfect square for 49? I mean, what's the square root of 49? 7. And whatever sign goes here, it's going to be the same sign as here. So if it's a plus, I'll put a plus here. So I'm still trying to solve for p. So I have p plus 7 parentheses squared equals 87. I'm going to square root both sides to get rid of this square. So when you square root a square, they cancel each other out. So you have p plus 7 equals plus minus the square root of 87. Okay, so then you subtract 7. And that's the answer.